Hey, everybody. This is Kaylee McMahon with Number One Leading Ladies, the podcast about women, by women, for women, where we work to build each other up instead of tear each other down. Today, we have a very special guest. I'm really excited to have Tanya Selvaratnam on our podcast. She's going to introduce herself because I won't do it justice. Tanya, go ahead.
My name is Tanya Selvaratnam. I'm an artist, writer, and producer, and I am the author of the new book, Assume Nothing, A Story of Intimate Violence. I'm also happy to say that I'm a part-time resident of Oregon.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to do this interview. So there's just a couple of questions that we ask our guests, and if it goes in a different direction, that's okay too. So the first one that we usually ask is there's a series of steps that happen when you have your own business as an entrepreneur. And as a female entrepreneur, it's a little bit different sometimes based on like your relationship status, where you're living, things like that. So for example, if somebody were to go from a place of starting a business, I have an idea and I'm going to put, my first set of expenses on a credit card like I did, or live with mom and dad, or, it depends a lot on your life situation. There's the beginning stages like that, and there's a set of efforts that it takes to get to traction. Would you give us a perspective on your experience of kind of what it took to go from where you started to get to traction?
Well, first, it was really important for me to identify who are the people that I want to emulate in my career and in my life. And I realized early on when I was in my 20s that the people I admired the most were those that had kind of the gradual rise rather than the quick one. And for me, it was very important to work hard, to be disciplined, to seek out advice and mentorship, and also to figure out what it was that I needed to do to support the thing that I wanted to do, and to be humble about it. So working all kinds of odd jobs, from office management to transcriptions to working in restaurants, while I developed my own career, which was as a producer and a writer.
That is fabulous. Whenever you got from, working those odd jobs, for example, how long did that take? I really like to give people perspective. It's, like you said, not overnight.
Well, I started producing my first film in the late 90s. And it was while I was producing that first film for very little money, no guaranteed return, that I was doing a lot of the odd jobs. But then it was in early 2000s that that film came out, it premiered, and I realized, oh, I can make a career out of this. And so I was able after that to then focus solely on producing and also on the writing.
So when you saw that the work that you had created was getting attention, or how did you know that it was you could do it? What was your sign? Was it money was working in a good direction? Was it you got good feedback? What was your traction indicator, I guess?
Well, I was very fortunate with the first film that I produced because it got into the Sundance Film Festival.
Wow.
And even though I felt like I was winging it all along, because of that, suddenly it seemed that people thought I was a film producer, and I realized that I am a film producer. And so then opportunities started to roll in. So I was very grateful. It came after many years of hard work. To get that film off the ground, but then that led to just more and more work, which was really, really wonderful. And it's been an unpredictable career. It has taken many twists and turns, and it's ultimately been a super fulfilling one.
Yes. When it came to finding those people that you wanted to emulate in the very beginning, how did you seek them out or search for them, or how did that process work?
I I believe in asking for what you need and being bold, but also in being gracious. so, an example is Anna Devere Smith, the playwright and performer. And I met her when I was in my early 20s, and I wrote her a note that if she needed help with anything, to please let me know how much I admired her. And she actually reached back out to me and asked me if I would be her assistant. So I was like her, her wing person for a while, and worked with her on the development of a show called Twilight Los Angeles 1992 about the LA riots. And then that show was at the Public Theater in New York. It went to Broadway. So that's one example of
Wow.
seeking out the mentors that you hope to have. I was very lucky that she wrote back, but I always think it never hurts to reach out. You'll either get a response or you won't, and it doesn't help you not to reach out.
That is perfect advice, because everyone's always trying to figure out what that balance is, with someone that may be a potential mentor, maybe, a potential sponsor, like, for me in my deals, it's financial sponsor that will vouch for you, or whatnot. And that is perfect advice, I would say, from this lens now, going, oh my God, I have so much on my plate. And if you just kind of reach out and see how you can help, and you also learn, and kind of get thrown into the mix as things go. So I think that is like gold nugget of the day. That's awesome. So one of the other questions we like to ask our guests on the show, I'm trying to think which one I should ask first, because it depends on the order. I'll just ask it like this. So that was describing kind of your journey, getting going, getting to traction. And then however you want to answer this, what would you say has been your biggest lesson?
You can't predict what is coming around the corner. And by being open to opportunities, by being open to the universe, you then make yourself more able to receive those opportunities and that wisdom that might come unexpectedly. So I just say, be open, be a good listener, and also to have a community around you, a support network, because that is so important. We shouldn't go it alone. And so having a community of artists around me and friends who can have my back has been as crucial as my individual place in my work and in this world.
Mm, that's great advice. Now, at what point in your career did you say, I for sure need this ecosystem or this network of people? And how did you find it?
It was because my work is collaborative as a producer. It's always been a part of my job to be a part of a team, to be a team player, and also to build teams as a producer. So it's something that I learned very early on in my 20s and continue to this day, and also to make sure that those teams are supportive of each other, that we have a positive ecosystem within our teams, because that positivity shows up in the work. It's not always easy making creative content. It's nonstop. It can be grueling. But when you have a team that's really supportive of each other, it makes a huge difference. And so that, I think, has been a really important learning lesson for me.
And how long did it take to start learning that lesson, do you think?
Oh, it was pretty instant.
Yeah, that's
It was like immediate.
that's really good, because that's been one of my biggest struggles. Is I just finished reading Who Not How, and again I get kind of like a backhand, like, you need to focus on who, not how. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also to make sure that you surround yourself with people who nurture you, and who don't deplete you, because too many people put up with situations and treatment that they shouldn't. And life is too short, and life can be hard. And I think that I see this come up with so many conversations with people where they're unhappy in their job, they're unhappy with their team leader or their boss. And I don't believe that any job is worth putting up with abuse or with negativity, you know? So that's why it's so important to build a community around you.
Now, I'm going to take a little side before my next question to kind of talk a little bit about your current creative work. I'd like to kind of go into a little bit of where it started, how it started, a little bit about the story behind it, and anything else you want to share.
Well, currently, I have multiple projects going on. It's the life of a freelancer, the life of a producer and a creator. But the primary focus at the moment is the release of my book, Assume Nothing: A Story of Intimate Violence, which chronicles my experience coming forward as a survivor of abuse at the hands of the former Attorney General of New York State. And also explores the domestic violence crisis around the world, which has heightened during the pandemic. And so I wrote this book to help others and to provide them with resources to spot, stop, and prevent intimate partner violence. I wrote this book for the millions of female and male victims and survivors and thrivers out there. And the book is recently out, and I'm also excited that it's being developed into a series by ABC Signature Disney Television with Joanna Coles as executive producer. So I didn't expect that would happen. I'm very grateful that it is happening, because it means that the book's message will reach an even larger audience.
Exactly. Like my grandma, you could put it on TV, she'd watch it. That's awesome. Congratulations, by the way, for that being the next thing happening after you wrote that book. How long did it take for you to put that book together?
Well, I write pretty fast.
Yeah.
But part of what helps me write fast is that I am an intrepid note taker. I was a shy child. I was an introvert. I was always journaling and taking notes. So this book, I was able to write fairly quickly because I already had hundreds of pages of notes and research before I dove in. So from beginning to end, I would say it took me about 8 months to write the book. But then, of course, it went through rounds of revisions and refinement. And I wrote most of it actually in Portland, Oregon, in my place there. I find that I get my best writing done in Portland, away from the wonderful but also very hectic energy of New York City.
Yeah. It's so interesting. So interesting. Our first time talking today, and I'm in Oregon.
I know.
Crazy is that? So channeling some good energy your way. That's awesome. And when going through the process of putting that book together, was there any point in time where, because obviously in there you probably cover things that are topics that have taught you some lessons, tough situations that you've had to experience, and when you had to do that, was there anything that, I guess actually, I'm going to take the backside of this question. Was there initially a mission coming out with this book? And did it change while you were writing it, or is it just kind of stayed the same?
My mission was to take the shame and the stigma out of being a victim, and to show people that a victim looks like all of us, that even fierce women get abused, and also that perpetrators are of all stripes. And by taking the shame and stigma out of being a victim, to help more people go from being a victim to a survivor to a thriver. And I also wrote the book to encourage more people to share their stories, because when we share our stories, we show that we're not alone, and hopefully we can work together to find solutions, because we need to ensure a more gender just and safe world. The safety of women is a threat to male power, and that is a paradigm that we need to subvert.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to read your book, seriously, because that's something that I'm kind of at a brick wall with not understanding that. There's different kinds of men that are out there, and the ones that I am the most attracted to as friends or any other kind of relationship are the ones that are emotionally intelligent, and usually their mother has had a huge effect on their life, where like, you know, the family kind of puts her up on a pedestal as like, you know, the queen, and they just treat her with respect, you know. And so those are the kind of guys that, you know, I have in my life. And I'm curious as to why the majority, you know, it's that opposite threat, you know, that they, you know, it bothers them that, you know, we want to be able to take care of ourselves. You know, I don't understand. So I can't wait to read your book. Seriously, where can we find it?
The book is available all over. It's available worldwide. And I always say support your local bookstores. So if you're in Oregon, you know, order it from Powell's, one of my favorite bookstores in the world. And it's also available online at retailers. You can buy it through Bookshop, through Amazon. So yeah, buy it, read it, share it, leave a review.
Perfect, perfect. Well, everyone that's listening, please do that. So my last question that I ask normally is just kind of the opposite to that other question. What would you say has been your biggest win?
Oh, I emerged from the book. The unexpected outcome of writing the book was that I emerged from the process stronger than I was before. And I emerged from it more grateful for my friends and colleagues and for my art, for my work. So that was a beautiful win for me.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I'm sure that it was healing too.
Very healing. I mean, the book is on a difficult subject, but it is full of healing and light.
Yes, and I'm really looking forward, like I said, to reading it. I'm really, so you and I have gone through some similar things, but in different ways. And I agree that, you know, getting the message out there that, you know, women are not alone, or whoever goes through this, you know, is not alone, is very important. You know, and I think the more that as a society we see that and hear that, it kind of will hopefully shape our perception of, you know, just even with like people acknowledging different gender norms, you know, like changing how we use pronouns now, changing just being a little bit more sensitive. I think a lot of that has to do with COVID. A lot, myself included, I've had to spend time really thinking through, you know, who I am, what I believe in, and what I want and what I'm passionate about. So, you know, I think that that will be healing to have more of that kind of information available, you know, to the public. So I'll definitely be very proud to share what you've accomplished and be able to share that information with my audience as well, because it's just another perspective on kind of the same thing but different, and it's all important for everyone to be aware that it's common and that you're not alone, you know.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Oh my God, of course. Now, really quickly, let me think. What if someone wanted to ask you some questions or come to, I don't know if they do these anymore, like a reading, or get more involved with what you do offer, or any of honestly your works coming out in the future, Tanya, what is the best way for our audience to get a hold of you or to follow you?
So I am at Tanya Author on all platforms, very easy to find on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. And my website is tanyaturnsup.com, and you can reach me through there directly.
Tanya, just real quick, what the name, where did that come from?
You mean for Tanya Turns Up? It was a nickname that I had in college because you could count on me to turn up.
That's great. I thought it was something that was cool. You know, oh, that's awesome. I love that. I love that so much. So Tanya Author, at Tanya Author, correct? Is
Mm-hmm.
where our audience can find you. That's perfect. Tanya, thank you so much for spending your time to be able to speak with us a little bit about what you do, how you got where you are, and drop a couple gold nuggets, you know, about finding mentors and being able to emulate the right people in your life. And if anyone is looking to get a hold of Tanya, just please follow her at Tanya Author on multiple platforms. And we look forward to seeing everybody on #1 Leading Ladies next week. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.